home goes up when you live in an area that's highly walkable or bikeable. People want to live, work, and visit a place that has that, those capacities for people. Obviously, when people are driving less, we have much less congestion. Is that a?
Go ahead.
Am I getting, okay.
Get another minute.
Okay. The other aspect that I want to speak with you about is parking. Because we can't have a bikeable and walkable community when parking has such, if there are really high requirements for parking imposed by the city, parking is both expensive and takes up a lot of space. Difficult to have an affordable housing community when there are onus parking requirements on developers and people moving into this area. So I'm here to see what we can do to minimize the requirements that the city provides for people to build here, and I want to reduce as much parking as possible. There are lots of examples of parking lots that are not full at all, and that car storage diminishes people's housing, people's being ability to afford housing where they want to live. So those are the primary things, and I'm interested to know whether is anybody that anybody from the commission might recommend I speak to about those two things, both parking and biking and walkability.
Certainly there are a number of other committees that you can certainly talk to those people, but Hillary, do you want to address or perhaps direct
Oh, is this Hillary?
some direction as
Yes,
well?
and
Hillary?
I owe you a phone call. I know you talked to our senior planner, Sean Holmes. So
Yes.
yes, I'm one of the people you can talk to
Wonderful.
about the parking. And then Chris Bosley, our city engineer, would be good to talk to you about.
I know Chris.
Okay, perfect.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
And Peter wanted to make a
Well,
comment.
just, we get a packet for each meeting, and it's
Okay.
online, it's open to the public. And they comment on it. Park and Rec and Monty McCulley from, on Pikes will comment on bicycles and so forth. So there is a system that's there, may not meet your needs, may be not as thorough as you want, but anyway, that's one area it'll go. And the same thing with parking, and you got, we are as interested in it as you are.
Great. Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to staff comments. Hillary?
All right. Good evening, commissioners. Just a few announcements. So just want to remind you that after the hearing tonight, we'll have a recess and then we will reconvene for a workshop to discuss findings of fact. Also, our February meeting, I believe you've all RSVP'd for that. Those that can attend, we're moving that. It will not be on February 13th. It will be February 27th so that we could have quorum, and that we'll have just one item. It'll be the PUD amendment for the Atlas Waterfront project. Also, there's the joint workshop on January 22nd on Atlas Waterfront with City Council and Ignite, CDA, and the Planning Commission. And then wanted to give you a quick update on the impact fees. So the hearings will be next week. So council did approve the code amendments that allow us to move forward with impact fee changes. So next week will be adoption of the capital improvement plans for the parks, the transportation, fire, and police, and then adoption of the fee study, and then adoption of the fees if council elects to do that. So keep you posted on the status of that.
Okay, appreciate it. Go ahead, John.
The 22nd workshop, is at noon,
That's correct. It's at noon.
right in
Right.
here?
It'll be in here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, at this time, excuse me, we're going to go to a public hearing, and there are sign-up sheets. If you want to make any comments, please make sure you sign your name and the city, and fill out all the blanks that have to be filled out on that. I appreciate it. And then once, yeah.
There's still commission comments? I do have one.
Oh, you have a.
I apologize.
I'm sorry. I skipped right over you. Go right ahead.
Well, in the last meeting we had, I had inquired about River's Edge and what they were doing there, and we reported back that that they have not progressed far enough to present the revision to the council in some fashion. We as planning, like the meeting we're having here, we talk about things and we take some action. So there's a level of expectation, I think, that people have that what we do here is followed through on. Now, the property owner has all the rights in the world too. They don't have to do certain things, but I'm wondering if we have some requirement to keep the public posted in some general fashion at certain points in time. And secondly, I'd like you to take some time, council maybe, and come back in a meeting from now, or 2 or 3 from now. But as I understand our planned unit development, we set them up and there's compromises on both sides, and the city and the property owner reaches an agreement, and they're pretty good deals for everybody. Everybody knows very well what's happening. Well, as this goes on, if we're having one that's has been approved and one that has been approved by us but hasn't followed through by the property owner, my question is, do we have an issue on which PUD takes precedent? The first one, which I assume does, but I don't know. And secondly, if there are conflicts between the first PUD and the second, where in the second a certain thing was provided for, but in the first it wasn't, or vice versa, which takes control? What my concern is that we get to a point where there's enough confusion on, certainly not anybody's part, maybe other than mine, is that that provisions of the second PUD are implemented in the first, and it causes issues, or more seriously, the items of the first PUD are implemented, and then they want to go back to the second one. It could cause just a lot of confusion, I think. And it would be nice if you might look at that and see if we do have any issues we have or anything we need to. And maybe, the system is so well formed that the problem is I don't have enough education. I don't know. But if you would look at it and come back to us in a week, a meeting or two, I'd appreciate that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, getting into our public hearing, the first item is GS4. Property is the applicant. Location is the southeast corner of intersection of 15th Street and Best. The request is a proposed zone change from neighborhood commercial to C17. The item is ZC-1-24. And Mike, you're going to give us a
Yes, thanks,
overall?
Commissioners.
Thank you.
Evening. This is the public hearing for item ZC-1-24. The applicant is GS4 Property LLC, and they are represented by Fusion Architecture. They're requesting a zone change from neighborhood commercial to C17. The property is located at the southeast corner of the intersection of 15th Street and Best Avenue, and legal notice was published in the Coeur d'Alene Press on December 23rd, 2023, and all other required notifications have been made. Here's a location map indicating where this property is located. Here it's highlighted in red. This is Best Avenue. This is 15th. Here's a close-up aerial photograph of the property, highlighted in red. Again, this is 15th Street here and Best Avenue. You see the property is currently vacant. Here's a bird's eye view looking north, and here's a bird's eye view looking southeast. The applicant has submitted a site plan indicating, if the zone change is approved, how they plan to develop the property. They plan to put a gas station with a mini mart and a quick serve restaurant down in this corner with electric charging stations. This is from the applicant's narrative. The applicant has indicated that they will be incorporating similar aspects as to the existing gas station and store that is located on the northeast corner of the intersection of Celtice Way and Atlas Road. Items such as low-profile signage, no LED reader boards, fuel refilling not to be excessive, limiting the number of fueling stations, electric car charging potential, fuel canopy lights will be turned off after 11 p.m. There are 4 findings that need to be met in order for a zone change to be approved. Findings B8 through B11. We'll go through each one of these, starting with B8. That this proposal is or is not in conformance with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan's future land use indicates that this is in the mixed-use low place type. Place types represent the form of future development. Each place type corresponds to multiple zoning districts that provide regulatory guidance on items such as height, lot size, setbacks, and allowed uses. The mixed-use low place types are highly walkable areas, typically up to 4 stories. These place types is typically developed along street grid that has excellent pedestrian and bike facilities. Compatible zoning districts within the mixed-use low place type are C17, C17L, neighborhood commercial, and community commercial. The comprehensive plan indicates the existing and planned bicycle and walking network, also existing transit network as it relates to this location. There's an existing bike lane on 15th Street, sidewalks on Best, and the nearest transit is on the corner of Best and Government Way. The next 3 slides represent comprehensive plan goals and objectives as it relates to this zone change request. The first goal is under community and identity. The goal would be Coeur d'Alene citizens are well-informed, responsive, and involved in community discussions. The objective would be to foster broad-based and inclusive community involvement for actions affecting businesses and residents to promote community unity and involvement. The next goal is under growth and development, develop a mix of land uses throughout the city that balance housing and employment while preserving the qualities that make Coeur d'Alene a great place to live. The next goal and objective is also under growth and development. The goal would be to ensure appropriate high-quality infrastructure to accommodate community needs and future growth, and the objective would be to ensure appropriate high-quality infrastructure to accommodate growth and redevelopment. The full list of the comprehensive plan and the goals and objectives is on page 11 of the staff report. The next finding is finding B9, that public facilities and utilities are or are not available and adequate for the proposed use. This application has been routed through the city departments, engineering, streets, water, fire, police, parks, and wastewater departments for their review and request in regards to the public utilities and public facilities. Each department has indicated there are adequate public facilities and public utilities available to serve the proposed zone change request. See page 11 and 12 of the staff report for the full list of departmental comments. Finding B10, that the physical characteristics of the site do or do not make it suitable for the request at this time. The site is generally flat and slight drop in elevation toward the east part of the property. There are no topographical or physical constraints that would make the subject property unsuitable to change the zone from neighborhood commercial to C17. Here's a topographical map indicating the topography. Each line represents a 5-foot drop in elevation. Here are some site photos of the property. This is on the northeast corner looking south. This is also on the northeast corner looking west on Best Avenue. This is on the north central part of the property looking south. This is on the northwest corner looking east along Best Avenue. And this is on the central part of the property looking northwest through the property. The next finding is finding B11, that the proposal would or would not adversely affect the surrounding neighborhood with regard to traffic, neighborhood character, and/or existing land uses. The city engineer has indicated that convenience, market, and gas pumps from the ITE trip generation manual can be estimated that this use will generate 133 morning peak hour trips and 153 evening peak hour trips. It is assumed that many of these trips would be bypass trips rather than diverted trips. It is unlikely that this use will adversely affect the traffic on 15th Street. 15th Street is a major collector that experiences over 1,000 trips per day. The Kootenai Metropolitan Planning Organization's traffic model predicts a potential maximum of 1,200 vehicles per hour. But capacity would largely be controlled by the traffic signal, which can theoretically move over 1,700 vehicles per hour. Future 15th Street improvements will upgrade the traffic signal to better accommodate the traffic. Access to 15th Street will be limited to approximately the south half of the parcel to ensure approaches are not within the functional area of the Best Avenue intersection. Here's the existing zoning. This is neighborhood commercial, and the proposed zoning is C17. As you can see to the north, there's R12, C17, It's R12 to the east, to the west and to the southwest, some R17 to the south, and this is in the county ag suburban. And the C7 district is intended as a broad spectrum commercial district that permits a variety of commercial uses, in addition to allowing residential development at a density of 17 units per acre. This district should be located adjacent to arterials. However, joint access developments are encouraged. The following is a list of some of the principal uses that are permitted in the C17 district: banks, daycare facilities, kennels, department stores, restaurants, hotels, hospitals, gas stations, veterinary offices. The full list is on page 21 and 23 of your staff report. In the existing neighborhood commercial zoning district, the following uses are permitted: commercial professional office, daycare, medical, dental, parks, personal services, and residential above the ground floor only. The following uses are prohibited in the neighborhood commercial, which would be commercial parking, detention facilities, gas stations, industrial, mini storage, warehouses. The following are some of the development and design standards for the neighborhood commercial district. So hours of operation, there'll be hours from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Developmental and design standards, at least 50% of any floor wall facing an arterial must be glass. If the building does not abut the sidewalk, there must be a walkway between the sidewalk and the primary entrance. Buildings must be designed with residential character, including elements such as pitched roofs, lap siding, and a wide window trim. Surface parking should be located to the rear or side of the principal building. These are just a few of the developmental design standards for the neighborhood commercial. And for the C17, there's also design standards, which is regulated for all new construction in the C17. Here's just a list of a couple. For building design, we'd screen the rooftop equipment. The windows facing the street would be visible from the street. And the parking lot would have landscaping and street trees along the frontage. In addition, we will have dumpster screening and other design standards that are required for commercial development. Here's a land use map indicating the current land use. Property is currently vacant. To the north is single-family attached housing, commercial gas station here, single-family dwellings located here, and to the south, multifamily. And zone changes that have happened in the past. In 1982, we did a zone change from R12 to C17 at this location. And the decision point tonight is to provide a recommendation to City Council regarding the proposed zone change from neighborhood commercial to C17. And you will need to consider this request and make appropriate findings to recommend that City Council adopt the C17 zoning or not adopt the C17 zoning. Additionally, the Commission may recommend conditions for this zone change, where such conditions are required to ensure that proposed uses of the area are consistent with the community needs and its public health, safety, and general welfare. And that concludes my presentation.
Questions for Mike? Go ahead, John.
Got a few questions. Thank you, Mike, for your report, presentation. You know, I always thought that, listening to others up here that, one caution, I guess, that we hear is that, an applicant brings forward a proposal of vision. It's going to be a gas station. It's going to be great. It's going to have all these wonderful features to soften it and this and that. But once the zone change takes effect, the applicant could change his mind, sell the property. It becomes, who knows, a bar, whatever, that kind of thing. So help me understand, if we condition things like you have to turn the lights down at 11 o'clock, one of the examples.
Yeah.
How does that survive into perpetuity somewhere, where, he sells the property and the C17 doesn't go away, and
Right.
what happens with all those things?
Well, the
Help me-
conditional zoning will be on record, and the planning department will know, and the building department will know. So when it comes forward for development, those conditions will be implemented. And if any of those conditions needed to be changed or wanted to be changed, they would have to come back to planning commission to request those changes. So those changes, those requirements would be permanent and part of whether if he develops the gas station or any other development comes through, those conditions would follow the property.
Thank you. And a question I had on traffic, and maybe others will have some thoughts on that as well, but, it's hard to really tie that down. Your staff report talks about kind of an estimate, but would it be fair to say that, that it's possible that a development by right, today, the owner of the property could pull a building permit for any number of neighborhood commercial uses tomorrow, and some of those potentially could have as much the same or more traffic impact than the proposed vision. Would that be a fair?
That would be
So-
correct. And we have the city engineer here, if you want to get specifically on those traffic counts and those uses. But yes, if the applicant, or the owner of that property has neighborhood commercial rights, and they could come in and build a project right now under those uses.
Thank you.
Mike, got a question as far as traffic, a little bit what John was saying. Is there anything that it will just be in and out on 15th, nothing going off on Pest, or is that something when it goes to design?
That would be best to talk to the city engineer about, or ask him that
Okay,
question.
Chris is here, we can ask him that question, I guess.
Okay?
Pete, go ahead.
Well, I think I misunderstood. If we approve this, then the property owner doesn't have to build a gas station. He can do anything he wants with it if it meets the C-17. Is that
That's correct.
Okay, okay. Secondly, what businesses are there on East 15th from the north city limits to Sherman?
East,
Not very many, right?
Side of
15th to south to Sherman.
No, on
There
on
are
the east side
a
of,
few sporadic, there's a couple of grocery stores.
down by the middle school.
Middle school, yeah.
Very
Very
limited.
few, yep.
Thank you.
And Dalton.
Any other, okay, here, Chris.
Mike, I want to talk about the comprehensive plan for a second, just get a broader picture of what it's intended to do by 2042. I see writing in there that talks about this was developed and approved by the citizens of Coeur d'Alene.
That's correct.
Okay.
We held multiple public hearings,
Public hearings to say this is
public
what we
events,
want.
workshops.
Right.
Yep.
And then when we look at this region in particular, it lists as potential zoning areas, everything from NC to C-17. So those are both in this area where people had envisioned.
That is correct.
Okay, so was that, intent of that based on urban sprawl and growth? Or was it based on what was there at the time when the comprehensive plan, people saw there was a C-17, they saw there was an NC, and they're like, yeah, these things are intended to stay?
It's based on multiple things, but that is one of the items they look at, what's existing there. But they also look at growth, where is growth gonna happen, and where is traffic gonna happen? Where is the need for these commercial nodes, so to speak? Do we need a little, something on a corner here to support the residential that surrounds it? So there's a lot of aspects that go into locating this as a mixed-use low, not just what's existing now. It's
Okay.
envisioned what it should be in the future.
And then, being somewhat new at this, in the end, it's the owner of the property who's gonna make a educated guess that we think this is a service that people want, so I'm gonna put this in here. Sometimes it succeeds, sometimes it fails. But to the point of others, when they talk about C-17, there's a laundry list of things in there that this property could become in the future. And then I also heard about conditions. Is there any way to make conditions on what the property could become inside of C-17?
I don't know about the uses, but you could definitely condition,
I saw the lights at 11.
yeah, certain
Understand
other
that.
items could be conditioned.
But not the actual uses of it.
I would want to check with,
Yes, we could.
okay.
You could
Yes.
limit the uses
You
of
can
what
limit the
that
uses,
property
you can
could be
limit
done.
the hours, you can limit a variety of things.
Thank you.
All right, just to clarify on that note, Hillary, so depending on how this goes, let's say it gets approval, but we can put a condition that this piece of property must be, as presented, a gas station with whatever the applicant has put in his narrative and say, this is it. And if anything changes from that, he has to come back.
You can make that recommendation. So I guess to clarify a point that Mike made earlier, so Planning Commission makes a recommendation, it's ultimately City Council
Right.
that would make the decision on the zoning and if there are conditions in place. But planning commission has the
And it
ability
goes to
to
city council,
recommend.
city council makes the final.
Yep. So if there was a change in the future, if there was conditions approved, and we had Tapley Cabinets is a good example of conditional zoning, they're trying to sell it, and the realtors had to keep calling and saying, what would be allowed, because we know we have conditional zoning. So it does run with the land, they understand there's limitations. To amend the conditions, they'd have to go back to city council.
Okay, great, thank you. Go ahead, John, you had a
Thank you.
question. Yeah.
I'll put you on the spot just a little bit, Mike.
Okay.
Not to be tough tonight, but the applicant mentioned, and you shared with us this project at a little gas station convenience market at Atlas and Celtus, and saying that it might be as like that one, saying that's a positive or whatnot. I remember sitting up here when, just to the east of that gas station, there's a little PUD. I think it was called something like Circa on Atlas or
Circuit on Celtice.
Circa on Celtice or something like that. So I ask kind of rhetorically, is that a good fit? Do those two work well, literally butting up next to each other? You don't have to answer that. I just throw that out there. But what would be different? Is there a difference here in terms of that scenario, in terms of who came there first? Or, was the Circa on Celtus on C-17 to begin? Was it all C-17 to where, they weren't a newcomer, if you will? If only where, in this case, this is a newcomer. Is any of them, can you
I
touch
think
on
on the
that?
Circuit on Celtice, it is, that PUD is in the C-17, and the residential got developed in the C-17 for a PUD, and then the gas station came later.
So if I bought a house in there, there's kind of a caution,
know
hey,
it's-
right, I was there, I came first, and I have
I
my
know.
house. I can't complain now that this develops like it did, because I should have known.
It was there. Yep.
Thank you.
Mike, on this piece of property, is this always been in the city, or was it out of the city, or?
I'm not for sure when this got annexed. I think
But it
Was
did
it-
get annexed into the city at some point in time.
that's correct.
And it was annexed in as C-17.
It was annexed in as C-7. No, it was annexed in as NC, Neighborhood Commercial.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, neighborhood commercial.
That's correct.
That's how it did get annexed in, but I'm not quite sure when it got annexed.
I think it was 82, but I'd have
A
to
while
look.
ago.
I think it was 82.
Okay,
Okay.
because I don't remember it coming when I've been on this commission that
Okay.
we saw the cannot
Yeah.
be a little while, so I don't remember quite.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
I
Phil.
think I,
Yeah, real quickly, Mike. Looking at the photographs you're shown and graphics and so on,
I just want to, it was annexed in 2011 in item A-1-11.
2000,
In 11, it's in the front
11.
page of the staff report.
you're young to remember.
I am, I don't remember that.
Sorry,
I think I was even legal at that age.
yeah,
On the east side of 15th, in the immediate area, and on the south side of Best, and looking at the everything is residential in one form or another, duplex, single family, and they did submit a site plan for us to review.
that's
And
right.
the site plan, I believe, shows two curb cuts into the proposed gas station off of 15th Street. So basically, the use for people who live east of 15th Street and north of Best makes it a very awkward situation for them to get in and out of there, I would think.
Those entrances aren't approved, they're just proposed, and the city
Thank
engineer will review those.
Thank you.
Yep.
Chris, you want to come up and address my question about in and out on Best or 15th Street only based on what we have in front of us tonight, or how can that be addressed?
So your question is about access onto Best?
Well, yeah, whether or not if this is approved and there, or can we, or do you recommend not having any access on Best at all, or?
Well, the applicant has only showed 2 access points. I did talk to him a while back about that, and we just wanted to make sure that they were out of the functional area of the intersection, meaning it wasn't going to conflict with left turns in the left turn bay up at Best. An approach onto Best would work, and it would be similar to the gas station at Ironwood and Government Way. They're on the same southeast corner, where if you're trying to turn left out of there, it's easier to turn left at the signal than to turn left onto Government Way. This would be similar, where it would be easier to turn left onto Best and make that left turn to go south on 15th, and fewer conflicts than if you turned left out of the gas station onto 15th Street.
I see, okay, okay,
But they haven't proposed an approach at that location at this time.
okay, all right, thank you. Any question?
Yeah, North 15th, are we planning to widen that road eventually?
It is not slated to be widened, but it will be improved. We have this project in design right now that goes from Harrison to Best. It will be 3 lanes the entire length, center turn lane the entire length, bike lanes on each side, shared use path on the east side for much of it, all the way from Cherry Hill Park up to Best. And then there will be signal improvements also at this intersection.
Any other questions for Chris?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
One more, we've gotten a lot of letters from people that are concerned about the property increasing traffic flow and safety associated with that. It sounds like in the report from the engineer's assessment, they don't predict additional traffic flow or any issues with safety.
Well, there very likely could be increased traffic flows, but what I put in my staff report comment was that I see that a lot of the trips are going to be pass-by trips, meaning they're already heading up 15th Street anyway and they need to get gas. I doubt somebody who's living on the west side of town or whatever is going to go out of their way to come to a gas station. It's going to act similar to the Nom Nom does on the northwest corner. It'd be more convenient if you're going northbound to hit this gas station, southbound to hit Nom Nom. Fewer conflicts that way, but some people will probably avoid one gas station and choose the other one instead, and that's where conflicts could happen.
Got it. Thank you.
Any questions? Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And Hillary, I got a question. When it comes to plan review in your department, there's all landscaping and all the setbacks, and you addressed that a little bit as far
Correct,
as
yes, and I
to
think Mike
adjacent property.
had a slide on there. There's performance standards for either of the zoning districts, and so when we get the plan in, we would basically review it to make sure it meets all of the setbacks, the landscape, the buffering, any of the parking requirements, bike racks, all of those things, make sure that the access, the driveway locations meet. So that would be done by the engineering department. So all the departments would review it, make sure it's going to work before
Okay, great.
construction would happen.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, this time I'm going to start with the first person, or the applicant. Is the applicant here? Oh, come on up. You have a chance to. I'm also just going to ask for your name, the city you live in, and I'll swear you in.
Rex Anderson with Fusion Architecture.
Okay, and do you solemnly swear and/or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Go right ahead. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. I want to start off by saying, as someone that grew up in Coeur d'Alene, I live in Spokane now, but I'm envious of the position that you're all in and the responsibility that you have. Like I said, I often romanticize about the idea of coming back and being more ingrained in the city. So you guys have my respect. In 2023, Andy Singh approached the planning department at the city of Coeur d'Alene with this idea of this project, and I think he spoke with Ms. Patterson and as well as another planner, I believe, and it was Andy's intent, knowing the residential feel this neighborhood to bring something in that was of residential scale and something that was a good neighbor to the property. And I think that as someone that has developed 3 of these projects already, he understands the neighborhood connection. He understands the neighborhood that he needs to fit into the context. And so it was in his meeting with Mrs. Patterson that they talked about the conditions that were put forth in the presentation this evening, talking about, turning lights off after 11, not, maybe some low profile signage, or what signage there would be, something that he would want to be a partner, with the city, with the neighborhood, to again fit in as a good partner. And those are items that Andy approached me with when we came up with the idea of the zone change. And when we were going through what this zone change should be, Andy played a role in trying to figure out what would be the zone change that would be most applicable to making this happen, or to being successful. And the first thing that we were pointed toward was the 2022 to 2042, comprehensive plan, and aligning ourselves with that document, because we felt like that was the most relevant thing that had the most success. And so it was that time that we looked at that document, trying to understand how that would work. And per that, just to take some elements from that comprehensive plan. This was taken directly from it. The 2022 to 2042 comprehensive plan is the community's plan. It sets a framework to guide future growth and development, as well as helping making strategic decisions for the next 20 years. It addresses the state of Idaho's comprehensive plan requirements and incorporates the implementation strategies to guide how we achieve the community's vision for the city. It goes on later to say, Envision Coeur d'Alene, who is the organization that helped participate in that document. Envision Coeur d'Alene is the City of Coeur d'Alene's comprehensive plan, which documents the community's vision and implementing actions needed to achieve what thousands of residents, businesses, and community organizations have said are important to achieve over the next 20 years. With regard to the building type that Andy is looking to build, we have on the screen here a photograph from when his current most recent project was completed at the corner of Atlas and Celtice. When I designed this building with Andy in 2019 through late 2020, walking through the store, Andy's existing store at Northwest Boulevard, Andy really walked me through, all of the items that were being sold in that store. Everything had a level of importance that was specific to the people that came into the store. And as you go through this store today, it's not what you would describe as typically a nom-nom or a convenience store. This is something that could be much better described as more of a store that addresses the needs that are local for the community. He has quick serve items. He has open coolers that provide for sale items that people come in and regularly buy, coffee, donuts, whatever he finds a need that the people that come in want, he adds it into what he's selling. Furthermore, I think that, with a mind on the future and things like that, he's willing to incorporate items such as electric car charging stations, and as well as next to his future store is a more of a quick serve or retail building alongside of it. Going back to traffic, I think that what was mentioned with regard to ingress and egress on the site, as well as the landscaping, requirements, it would be our next step to have a pre-development conference with the city, like we did on this Atlas gas station. We worked with the city, incorporating the comments that they had for, all of the development requirements for it. And then, lastly, I think the one thing I did want to allude to that was brought up originally is I think that, seeing this as C-17, yes, it does align with the plan and the comprehensive plan, but if NC were to remain in place, it's our view that the impact on the neighborhood could be, it would have its own impact, I should say, on the community and what it would be doing with regard to traffic and with regard to the impact on the community. We feel like this is the best use for this site, and I think that's evident with how the comprehensive plan has laid things out for it. Do you have any questions for me?
Question, I've got a quick question. On the market, I take it that's going to be developed fairly quick. Is the quick service something that's going to be rented out to someone else, or is the owner going to be doing that as well? Or is,
It's not decided at this time, and Andy's going to come up here and speak in a second, and I'd let him speak
Okay.
to that. But that's something where in that C17 zone would be allowed, but it would be again something that is relevant to the community, something that would serve a need to that specific area.
But it's basically going to be something that's going to be leased out at some point in time. And my other question is the plan, besides what we have here in our package, is it the design kind of going to be similar to that design, or is it going to be different?
It would not be a knockoff. I can
Okay.
tell you that. Andy, when we went through this design and we've talked about this project, Andy's, he wants to create something that looks good. It's not something that you're going to see like a nom knockoff, where it's just recycled design. It's something where he has a passion for design, and he sends me images frequently of, hey, this would look great in this spot.
Well, that's not a bad-looking building. I'm not saying that's
not,
a
I know.
bad-looking building. I'm just trying to, you show us a picture, and then we start thinking, well, this might be what's on the property, and we
Yeah.
have a layout, and
Well,
let's
and I
not
think
ask some of those questions.
Yeah, and I think with this building, he was very, passionate about the raw materials, metal, wood, the expression of material to really create interesting architecture was something that he was passionate about during this project, and I know he will be, and he's already shown that on this one.
Okay. Any questions?
I have a
Rex?
couple of comments. My son lives across the street in Bow,
Yeah.
and he needs that place because he doesn't drive, and there's no markets around at all. So when he's out of milk, that's where he goes. But the one thing for C17 is that there's no height restrictions on other than residential buildings. So, and this is a tall building, there's no question. It's got that gymnasium height ceiling. I think one needs to look around at what's adjacent and keep it in proportion on height so that you don't feel like, wow, there's the, monument to gas. If we move forward, I just know that C17, should it be approved, has no height restrictions other than residential. And so that's something that I'll be looking for. But, you did a great job. And Celtice, who would have guessed that we would have had that much traffic at that point? That place is always hopping.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that. I think that, something that Andy has talked about with this one is you don't, back in the old days when I was a kid, Tidyman's was along 15th, or excuse me, Best, and that's no longer there. It's now a food truck village. So Andy has talked about fresh produce for this spot. And so he put in a commercial kitchen at Atlas and Celtice. He's brought me in to show me how he does breakfast sandwiches, he does lunch, he does dinner. They do espresso with this one here. And so again, he is trying to fill a need, and clearly in this at this location, this proposed location, there's a need for grocery items, for quick items like that. So,
Yeah.
and I guess with regard to the height limit, when it's said that there's no height limit, I know that is a scary term, but Andy is looking to scale down for this one. This one, we were anticipating a couple other items in this store that got taken out. And so, this is a tough, it is a little harder to keep clean and does have some other costs associated with it, but he's looking to have something a little bit more scalable.
Okay.
I guess I had a question about the lease, which you'll probably answer, but then the size comparison to the two, like just for this one, because I'm familiar with this one too, because it's near my house,
come down
and it's
the
very popular, but how many square feet is this?
This one's 8,500 square feet.
Okay, so this one will be considerably smaller.
Correct.
Okay.
I've got one other question, Rex. On here it shows, I guess, 4 filling stations and 4 double pumps or something. It's not going to be, or maybe Andy can speak to that. Oh, no, we'll give you a chance to get up when you do it.
I'll let Andy
Okay,
speak to that.
if-
He's a wizard when it comes to
Okay, we'll
that
ask
stuff.
Andy some of those.
There's one more question at the end of the table.
What was that?
He had a question. You
Oh,
had a question?
Question mark?
Yeah, Rex, you'd mentioned at some point that you were looking at scaling down from the initial plan. Was that based off your interaction with the city and trying to figure out? Okay,
No, I think you're talking about the original, this project versus what we're doing here.
that's correct.
We originally were gonna have an elevator in this building. And there is a second floor. This one, it just, the same model doesn't fit. And I think, you know, it'd be way too boring to put the same thing on the site. And I think that a building that's more manageable, more of a, you know, a size that's not quite as tall as this one.
Great.
So,
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
Go ahead, Peter.
Did you have an opportunity to meet with the local, with the neighbors and to discuss this?
I have
And-
not had that opportunity, no.
It's unfortunate. Thank you.
All right, Rex, if, you'll have a chance to come back after everyone else speaks.
Okay.
To answer any
Thank
concerns
you.
that might come up.
Thank you.
Okay. Andy, you want to come on up?
How are you
And
guys
just
doing?
state your name, the city you live in, and then I'll just swear you in.
My name is Andy Singh. I live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear and/or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth, nothing but the truth? So help you God.
do.
Go right ahead, Andy. Thank you.
So 15th and Best, there's no grocery store nearby. There's nothing until you go to Safeway, you know, around there. And it was the same situation at Atlas and Celtice. There's no grocery store over there either. Every day, if you go to any gas station or convenience store in town, no store has like baskets, nowhere has shopping carts. We have like small shopping carts in our stores. We have baskets. Every day at Atlas and Celtice, at least 30 people use baskets. At least a couple dozen people use the carts. And I just feel like 15th and Best, it's like a food desert. If you go into the Nom Nom, everything's overpriced. I don't think that's a joke. I'm being serious. And then our store on Atlas and Celtice, all our frozen food items, all our grocery items, all our dairy items, a typical convenience store probably runs like 40-50% on those margins. We cut it down to 15. A gallon of milk is under $4. We have a good selection of like frozen foods. We want to serve the area. We know there's residential around it. That's why we're building this. You know, people have a need. I think I don't know how many letters, you send out 500, right? To the community? Or within a mile, everyone gets one?
300-foot notification.
300? So out of 300, I mean, if there's 10, 15 people here that have complaints, I think we're willing to work with the people here too. I'll bring my business card to a city council meeting wherever I need to. I didn't bring them today. My email will be on there. Any complaints people have, any recommendations, we're gonna go the extra mile. I live in Coeur d'Alene. I don't live in Spokane. I don't live in California. I grew up here, went to Woodland Middle School. You know, the teachers, I still know them. We've been here 25 years. We want what's best for the community. I just know in that area, there's nothing. If people want to pay $6-7 for a gallon of milk, they want to pay double the price on beer, like they only have that one option there. I think if we build something there, I don't think that Nom Nom is going to be in business much longer. You know, and we're local. We need the support. We need the local people's support. And we got it on Atlas and Celtice. We plan on doing same philosophy, 15th and Best. We're not gonna have big signs. We're gonna do things the right way. So that's it.
I've got a question, again, going back to the number of pumping stations.
Yes,
We
sir.
see in our diagram here for those two double pumping stations.
Yeah, we don't want to put 20 there or 10 there. We can afford to do it, but that's not what the neighborhood needs. There's already a store across the street right now. They have 2. We plan on putting 4.
Okay.
There's not a need for 6 or 8 there. So everything is based on what the area needs.
And then regarding what you said, the lights would be off at a certain time, I forget that.
Yeah.
How does that work? So the gas isn't gonna be,
So no one else, if Maverick wanted to do this or anybody else, they're not gonna offer any of this stuff to you guys. You know, we're local, we understand people aren't gonna be happy with anything going there, you know? But, we'll turn off the lights at 11 o'clock. We don't open our stores past 11 o'clock.
oh, okay.
Nothing good,
So
nothing
what are
good.
the hours approximately?
We'll
from
probably open 6 to 11.
6 to 11, and that, okay.
All the lights turned off when we're closed. It's not a high crime area, so we're not worried about anything, you know, bad happening at night. And, you know, it's easy. Just flip the lights off.
Right, okay, I just was curious
Yeah.
about the lights. Other questions at this?
Did you want to speak a little bit to the plan for the lease space, the quick serve?
We had
As a separate building?
A friend of mine, they own Union Roasters, like the coffee place, and he inquired about it. They want to do like a coffee shop there with they want to sell donuts and pastries as well. We want to partner with somebody local. We're not going to put a Subway there. We're not going to put something unnecessary. You know, there's no coffee shop, there's nowhere to sit down there. We want to partner with somebody local.
All right, we appreciate it. If we need to, I'll have you back later.
Okay, thank you.
Andy. Okay, I'm gonna go off our list. The first person is John Thomaset, and is opposed, but did not indicate whether you want to speak. Come on, you're standing up, I guess you want to speak. Same
Thank you
thing,
very
just
much.
your
Good
name and
evening.
the city you live in, and I'll swear you in.
I will. John Tomasi, Coeur Lane.
Do you solemnly swear and/or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Go right ahead. You have.
And Happy New Year's to you folks also.
Thank you.
And some of the things that I was only going to cover 3 or 4 points, and some have been covered. I was going to cover the building there and the height of it specifically, and that's been answered. That's not going to be the building. I am a little concerned, or I wonder why maybe we didn't have a rendition of what the building would look like. I think this is a little it's a nice-looking building, but a little contemporary or modern for what's around it on that section. I live in Best Hill Meadows. I know you sent out 300 notices. Unless mine got lost in the mail, I don't think we got any. And we are just east and north of this location, maybe 1/10 of a mile, 2/10 of a mile. So we're a 106 home neighborhood that really would be impacted by that. So anyway, I was concerned with the height and I was concerned with the architecture. Sorry.
Just to clarify, the notices went out to residences within 300 feet of that property, not 300 notices.
Oh, I thought it was 300 notices I heard. 300 feet? Okay, that takes into account maybe the block behind it and across the street. I mean, that's like shooting a water gun and saying those people have been notified. I'm sorry, but.
Yeah, that's state law.
Okay. The second thing that concerns me, and again, that you've touched on, and I appreciate that, the C-17 is a all-encompassing change, and as your own staff person, Mike, has said, that leaves it wide open for things in the future. And I know you covered some of them, but some of them are automobile repair and cleaning, automotive fleet storage, automotive parking, commercial film production, commercial kennel, hotel motel, juvenile offenders facility, mini storage facilities, and mobile food court. And some of those would not be desirable in the neighborhood. Now, if you then have authority to not allow that at some point in the future, that's great, but it does open that up at this point if you allow that change. My last point, and hopefully the most important one, was I went over the 2022-2042 comprehensive plan, or as much as that I could find, and thank you for everything you put online. That was very helpful. But it really appeared that when this plan, and as I understand it, took 2 years when it was developed, not only was the planning, you folks involved in the city council, but it seemed like a very broad base of community and government facilities who developed this plan. And in the development of the plan, they saw fit to leave that at NC, what is it, NC 17? Did I get that right?
Just NC.
What it is now?
Neighborhood commercial, but it didn't, just to clarify, the comprehensive plan didn't change the zoning.
That's right. They saw fit to leave that in doing all that two-year planning.
No, the comprehensive plan doesn't ever change zoning. The comprehensive plan sets the future vision for the community.
So they don't change any of the plan?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, but my point is, and maybe my last point is, and I'm going to quote this because it was from a comment that was already mailed in, but I couldn't have said it any better, from one of the residents of Best Hill Meadows, Ross Morton. And if he's here, I apologize for this. He said, if we consider what is the greatest need, much-needed residential land to help address the affordability crisis, or another gas station and convenience store directly across the street from an existing gas station, it's clear to see the former is the most reasonable path forward. And I tend to agree with that. What we tend to need now, I think, personally, in Coeur d'Alene is additional housing, maybe affordable housing, and that might be a better use for that property. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Next, I have Steve Listman. It did not indicate what, okay.
Steve Listman, 2511 North 16th Street, Coeur d'Alene.
Do you solemnly swear and/or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Go right ahead, Steve. Thank you.
Well, I came here and I didn't want that property annexed into the city. And it was annexed into neighborhood commercial. Okay? If you put that map up where that is, my house backs right up to that lot. I didn't come in and contest the building of the apartments that are south of me. My house is the one down in the lower corner next to those two big gray battleships. I have absolutely no privacy in my backyard now. Their lights, their security lighting makes my backyard look like a Walmart parking lot. I have people calling the city complaining about my chickens. I have people throwing food over the fence to my chickens. And now you want to change that into a gas station and all that? No, absolutely not. Those apartments block my winter sun in the morning. I don't get winter sun on the south side of my house because of those apartments. Now, if you build two-story buildings out there, there goes my sunsets. I've lived in that house for 34 years. I've lived there since there was no stoplight at 15th and Best. Best ended at 16th Street, and we had a stop sign to get across. Now, I'm not against progress and growth, but what these guys want to put in here, I don't care how much fresh produce you have. I'm a mile away from freaking Costco, and there's 3 Safeways now. The old Safeway on 4th Street, the original, and then the one up at Ironwood, where the state construction yard used to be, you know. I am really stressed out, man. I thought I'd be living here. I'm 68 years old. I can't afford to move now. And you guys are just going to ruin my lifestyle. You know, I thought maybe when they built those apartments, the deer wouldn't be hitting my wife's flowers as much, but no, they're worse now. So I just wish you guys would put duplexes, 3plexes, or 4plex, single-story buildings, residential. You could put a little street in there, call it 15th Place or something, like you have 10th Place, and build some housing in there. I know I'm not one of your constituents. I live in the city. I haven't voted for you guys. I mean, I live in the county. If you look on that map, that's all county, and I'm being surrounded by the city, and my quality of life is going downhill. Thank you for your time. I hope I made a difference.
Thank you. The next person.
Chair, if I just point out, we're not elected.
Okay.
We're appointed by the city council. Well, it's a difference. Thank you.
The next person is Kathy. Okay, help me out, thank you. It's okay. Kathy is named.
My name is Kathy Maline, and I'm a Coeur d'Alene resident.
Do you solemnly swear and/or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth, nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Go ahead, Kathy.
My concern about this property is any kind of a change in a community like this, which is well-established and is pretty much heavily concentrated already with residential homes, is any decision should be to support that community and what that community wants. And I don't see that need being met at all here. I mean, there's been an ongoing need, which has been voiced, throughout the whole county, that basically there is a need for more residential, affordable housing to accommodate the needs and the financial needs of our community that wants to continue to live here. Many I know have left because it's become unaffordable. So I think what's most important is to look at what is the best use of this property that supports what this community wants and what we represent. And I don't see a need from the perspective that you have a establishment kitty corner to the proposed property that supports a need, which at some point in time was established where, it was wanted to have a gas station and or convenience mart, which I go there every day. I'm a confirmed Diet Coke-aholic. I go there every day for my fountain drink without exception, except when the fountain machine is out of order. So I'm in there every day. There aren't huge lines where people are waiting and waiting because their needs can't be met to get their gas, get whatever items they're coming in for, which is mainly a community that comes in the morning, they're getting their coffee, they're getting their soda, they're getting their energy drinks, they're grabbing a donut, whatever it may be on the way to work, to go off to hunting, wherever it is. So I don't see that we're not already meeting the need by what we already have, whether that facility continues to be nom-nom or somebody else who maybe occupies that premise at another point in time. The traffic, as we all know, going down 15th, as many residents have chosen to go down 15th versus going up on 95 because of the added traffic and the stoplights up there has increased the traffic. I drive that way pretty much every day as well, and not only is the volume of cars down there increased, the amount of speeding violators and people blowing through stop signs has really gotten out of control. And if we are to add more services that are going to increase volume, and as a good business owner, they would be promoting their business, which would encourage more growth and more traffic in that area. I think that's also another detriment and reason not to do that. I, like John, live at the east end of Best Avenue. My other concern is also the access into and out of whatever would go in there if this were to be approved, which I am opposed to it, is that nature of the beast. If people go to make a right out of that parking lot onto 15th and they see there's traffic backed up, they're going to go shoot out the other way onto Best. Just nature of the beast, they're going to try and cut around traffic. And you've got an inflow and exflow of community residents that live there coming in and out. And I think not only just the traffic going in and out, but then the potential for any accidents as people try and flip in or out of that location, trying to beat any traffic on 15th is also going to be an issue. But I think the most important part is I don't see a community need being met. They're trying to establish a need that we may want, but I have never heard in the years that I've lived in that residential area where anybody is complaining that they don't have access to services they need. And I agree, even though the markup may be a 15% markup, which may be less than, say, what a competitor across the street, Nom Nom, may offer, it's still a lot more expensive than if you were to go into like a Costco, a Safeway, a Fred Meyer, or whatnot. So I would just appreciate your input and your consideration in this, saying, are we meeting a community need, or are we just meeting a need of someone who wants to grow a business there?
Kathy, I got a quick question for you. I
Yeah.
usually don't ask questions of people who speak, but if concern of traffic and with C-17, somebody can go in there and build something with, a lot more height and maybe commercial on the bottom and some apartments on top. I mean, how do you feel about what someone can do on the right with that building with addressing traffic? Because
No, I mean, I think
aren't you going to have the same, or I don't know what your thought process is, but the amount of traffic is
Well, it
going
sounds
to
like with
be.
C-17, because one, you don't have the height restrictions. You've got the detriment to those folks, like the gentleman who just spoke, who live there, where basically it's really impeding upon their privacy to have a large structure, basically obscuring their view, their sunsets, their sun, whatever the situation may be. And it's starting to look more city-like than basically something that's in a community where you've got a nice residential area, established community where we haven't had to deal with and don't want to deal with, basically.
Well, I'm talking about, right now, you can, in the zone that it is, it can go up to 32 feet of height. And that's with residential on the ground. It says here, according to us, we have residential above ground floor commercial. So the potential of having traffic is still going to be the same, perhaps, in an NC that it is right now. If it goes to C17, possibility of perhaps going a little higher is there as well. So I think traffic is going to be on this property no matter what is developed. And I'm not sure if this particular proposal, and I didn't ask Chris this question, is less than when it's residential or not. But traffic is going to be in this particular
But it sounds like,
thing.
and I could be wrong, like if you had the combination of kind of a residential, non-residential as it's zoned for today, some of your traffic is somewhat fixed by the residential component of what may go in there versus, and especially when you're going in for any kind of a gas station convenience store, they tend to be high traffic no matter what. I mean, that's what they're about, and it's people going in and out, and they survive on volume.
But you can have commercial on this piece of property, the way it's zoned right now on the lower first floor, and then residential above it. So you're still gonna, and I'm not arguing your fact.
No, I totally
I'm just trying to
understand.
point out so everyone understands what can be put on there as it sits right now, compared to what is perhaps proposed in a C-17. And we all have concerns that once it goes C-17, it can be some other
Correct, it can be
businesses,
modified.
right? And that's
Right.
why I asked the question, can we ask city council, or when we make our recommendation, what can we put on there to kind of keep it within what we see here today? So that's kind of what our thought process is here. So I just want to make sure everyone understands that, because, yeah, we'll hear a lot about traffic, I'm sure, but there's going to be traffic, no
Though-
matter what.
You're gonna put new volume there no matter
Well,
what you put there.
I didn't want to get into a discussion. That's why I
Right.
said I usually don't ask questions. I just
Right.
wanted to put that out, so hopefully everyone understands.
Yep, and I totally agree, because whatever you put
Okay.
there is gonna add volume, just by virtue of you're
Okay.
putting more structures
More
there. They're gonna have more cars in there, but that is what you put there also that I think makes the biggest difference.
Just for everybody's information, by right, just the way it is now, NC, we can have commercial and professional offices, we can have daycare, medical and dental practices, parks, personal services, hairdresser, whatever, and residential, above ground floor only, new construction and retail. By special use, we can also have religious institutions and schools. So that is by right, just the way it is as an NC right now.
Understand,
And so those all drive traffic. They just do.
right.
So,
And many on the list, though, I would argue that are, say if you put a hair salon there, they're scheduled appointments. I mean, you have a certain amount of kind of controllable volume that go through there. When you're pushing for like a convenience gas station type setting, they survive on volume.
right, one salon will not fill that would
No.
have to be a hair school.
Maybe in a spa.
But just so understand that, this, Mr. Singh has what he has specialized in, but that piece of land, as it stands now, is NC. So it drives traffic. It just will. And
drives
it's a
some.
prime piece of land, so.
But again, I think it comes back to what does the community want and need? And I don't feel as proposed it's meeting the needs.
Okay, thanks, Kathy.
Great, thank you.
Appreciate it. Joe Archie-Salt, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, Joe?
Archambault, good French-Canadian. Archambault. Oui.
Archambault, right,
Oui,
you're
je
actually
parle
right.
français, oui. Archambault?
I live in Best Hills Meadows.
Okay, Joe,
Okay.
Hey, with everybody else.
all right,
I'm the
just
president of Best Hills Meadows.
Your
Board.
name, your
Joe
name-
Archambault.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Your name and the city you live in, thank you. Do you solemnly swear and/or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Go right ahead, Joe.
All right, I agree. Everything that John and Kathy said, they live in a development. I'm the president of Best Hills Meadows Homeowners Association. I know it goes out to, what, 300 to the closest people you sent it out. We had no idea. How did I find out? Through somebody actually on Facebook pasted it. Kathy's point was well taken, and it's the traffic. You can argue traffic from anything. Whatever you put there, you're going to have an extra car, even if you just put one parking spot. I suggest you leave it as NC, because, yes, you can put all those things that you said put in there, but they're never going to be like having a gas station there. Never. Then you're going to put an electric charge station in there, too. You got Nom Nom, I don't care how cheap his prices are, you're still going to add traffic. The fellow that spoke about traffic in 15th Street improving, that's way down the road. Way down the road. They're improving part of it, but to get from, what do you say, Harrison past 90 up to Best, that's a big ordeal. There's underground water, they claim, that is a hindrance when they want to do the work on 15. Best I could figure, because I went to the meeting on the improvement of 90, what they want to do, and what they want to do on 15th, besides they have traffic lights to there by 90. They said it'll be years before they make that. So we'll have to live with 15th Street as it is now, if he gets his gas station in there or whatever he wants to put in there. You don't need a gas station there. That road is dangerous as it is. They didn't pave it. They just threw down asphalt on 15th because it was like riding the Basra Highway. It was all, and the reason they didn't pave it permanently, because they can't yet. They have to come up with, I was told, this is going back about 2 years ago, over $2 million just to be able to research to repave that road. And if you add something there, there's plenty of places. You can, down the road on Best, there's another convenience store if you need stuff. There's no need for this. I know they can put a lot of stuff, like you said, you know, hairdresser in there. Well, that's good. That's one car in, and maybe the hairdresser or whatever, you know, a daycare center. But it's the constant traffic flow that you're going to get out of that place. That's where the problem is. And again, what are they going to do? Who said they're going to change the lights on 15th at the corner there? I was told, I don't know who controls that. I guess it's the road department or something like that with the traffic flows. They have to put more, a better system in now because it's insufficient. And now they want, if he adds his gas station, the traffic is just too bad. Just all I say is don't vote on, leave it where it is, and then if he wants to put a hairdressing shop up, he's welcome to. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Carol D. Wolf. She did not wish to speak, did not indicate whether she's, I take it she's opposed. Catherine
Dion, another French name. Dion?
did not wish to speak. You want to come up or you don't want to speak? Okay, thank you. Bob Newkirk, and you do wish to speak, Bob? Okay, Bob, you know the drill. Name and city.
Good evening, Bob Newkirk. My family and I live in Best Hill Meadows.
Excuse me, let me swear you in, please. Do you solemnly swear and/or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth, nothing but the truth? So help you God.
So help me God.
Go right ahead.
Bob Newkirk. My family and I live in Best Hill Meadows. We're the corner of Best and White Pines. We don't oppose development to this corner. What we oppose is having a service station there. There's really no need. We've got Nom Nom. We've got, within a quarter mile, you can go to Costco for gas. You can go to Safeway, Exxon, Mobil. There's gas stations all over the place. One of the slides was saying, you know, for the health and safety and welfare of the community, I don't see how it really adds any of those things to us. it's not like we're gonna go down there as neighbors and meet at the convenience store. It'd be great if they put a, a restaurant in or something like that, but, alls I see it's gonna add is traffic, 18-wheelers dropping off fuel. I noticed the nice picture of the building didn't zoom out and show the gas pumps and the canopy and the lights. It's gonna add noise pollution, it's gonna add, smell pollution. It's just going to add traffic. I just don't see how it adds to the community. Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. I have Jim Myers, did not indicate, oh, okay.
Jim Myers, Coeur d'Alene.
Okay, do you solemnly swear and/or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you
do.
God? Go right ahead.
Okay, I'm retired twice. For part of my PT, my physical training, I walk the neighborhood on a daily basis almost. I'm watching the traffic going in and out of Nom Nom. Fuel tankers, 18-wheelers that are delivering food, step vans, you name it, at all hours of the day. All we're going to do is multiply that if we put another facility on that corner. Also, whatever goes in there, yes, traffic will go up. The only reason that traffic won't go up if something goes in there, if it's a sheriff's substation. We don't need additional heavy vehicles in and out of there. And especially if there's only going to be 2 exits on to 15th. Trying to get an 18-wheeler or a fuel tanker to do a U-turn to get back out on 15th in that lot is going to be really difficult. At least at Nom Nom, he can come in off of 15th and go out on Best or vice versa. That is going to be a problem. Also, you had the nice picture of the facility they built. He said the square footage, there was no discussion of the square footage that this facility might bring. The gentleman said all the nice things he wants to put in there, but that's all going to depend on the square footage involved. So if we don't know how big or how small the facility is, how do we know what things can be brought forward as part of the program? Thank you. That's all I have to say.
You're welcome, thank you. I had Debbie and Mark Smith, and I guess Debbie wants to speak. Okay. Name and city, and I'll swear you in, Debbie.
Debbie Smith, Coeur d'Alene. I live in Best Meadows.
Okay, do you solemnly swear and/or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Go ahead, Debbie, thank you.
Of course, I agree with everything everybody's brought up, so I won't repeat it. My concern is Best Meadows is, there's no outlet. That's the end. You've got over, I think, 100 homes back in there. In the event of an emergency, a fire, evacuation, we all got to egress one way, and that's out to 15th. So my really big concern is any more added traffic and stuff would just make it just a mess trying to get out there if we need to be evacuated. If we're told we need to be evacuated, we're stuck back there. So that was my main concern.
Okay, thank you.
Good point.
William Irving did not indicate anything. Okay. Chris Booth, just opposed, but did, oh, wanna come up? Name and city.
Chris Booth, Coeur d'Alene.
Do you solemnly swear and/or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, sir.
Go ahead, Chris, thank you.
I bought my house on Bora Avenue 23 years ago. One of the main reasons that I chose that area is because there wasn't a lot of things like this there. It was residential. It was calm for the most part. Now, if we're just going to keep building, I understand building. You got to spread, you got to progress. But most of the stuff I wanted to say has already been said. We don't need a gas station. We already have one. We have a Best Food Shop down the way. We have the corner on 4th has a gas station and food options. It's just unnecessary, in my opinion. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Thayer and Patricia Hornby, and somebody wants to speak. I'm not quite, okay.
Thayer Hornby, Coeur d'Alene.
Do you solemnly swear and/or affirm that testimony you're about to give is the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you
Yeah,
God?
it is.
Go right ahead. Thank you.
So we've lived in Best Hills Meadows now for 25 years. And when we first moved to that community, the area where at the north, what would that be? The northeast corner where there's now the senior community, that was all forest. And they cut that down and it sat vacant for a number of years before they finally put something in there. And even that area, we've seen a decline. We have no control over that. We've seen a decline over where the Nom Nom is. And this area, we need more housing. We don't need another gas station. I just spent 3 months this year down in Houston, Texas, where they have no zoning. And I know that this is nothing like that, but just to see the decline of some of the areas where nice communities, homes were built into the forest, and then all of a sudden, it's all strip malls around it and butting up next to it. And I worry about that kind of thing. I worry about the fact that anything can happen once the zoning gets changed, that it opens it up for a variety of things. I don't know that you're going to be able to put those kind of conditions to stop that. And to limit the use only as a gas station. But I just want to go on record as being opposed. We need housing. We don't need another gas station. In the 25 years I've lived there, I've never once found myself saying, gee, I wish I had another gas station closer to my house or a restaurant or a fast food place closer to my house that I could go to. So that's it.
Thank you, appreciate it. Mark Colton, and he's opposed but did not indicate. Okay, come on up, you're allowed to talk. Name and city, Mark.
It's Mark Carlton. I live in Best Hill Meadows also.
Okay, do you solemnly swear and/or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth?
Yes.
Nothing but the truth, so help you God. Go right ahead.
I see no need for this development in the neighborhood. You talked about a food desert. We're 5 minutes from Costco. The gas stations are close by Costco. There's plenty of gas stations. There's plenty of grocery stores. I do not see how this development is going to add anything to the neighborhood. And none of the neighbors that I've talked to have ever expressed any desire for this sort of development. And I don't think any of us want it. That's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you. I have a Tom Hungergrove Bond. I'm sorry, Tom, if I misspelled you or mispronounced.
Hungerford.
Okay, did not wish to speak. Kim Seeley is opposed and did not, okay, come on.
She wrote a letter. I love the, oh, isn't that cute? Look at the wheels.
Name and city, and I'll swear you in.
Kim Seeley, Coeur d'Alene.
Do you solemnly swear and/or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
So just like everybody else said, I agree 100%. I'm going to speak for the families, the young kids that live in the area, that we walk the area, we have dogs. I live on Randall, 2 houses in from 15th. We're already a cut through when people don't want to stop at the light. They cut through our street to get back onto Best. It's busy. The cars come flying through. So if we have a gas station, or I know any business there, that is just going to pick up. My kids, we're always playing in our front yard. He's in a wheelchair. You know, something's going to happen someday. Hopefully, you know, I shouldn't say it like that. But I just don't want all my family pictures to have a gas station in our, you know, in the back of these guys growing up. Residential housing, that's fine. You know, it's, we'll take that, but I don't need gas pumps out my front window. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, you will. Thank you.
Wow, that's a tricky one. Even I can't read that one. Jerry Jerry
He lives at
Summer
2519 and 2515
on 15th,
15th Street.
crossed
Oh,
off.
wait.
Oh,
Nope.
that's her.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay.
Shaky hand. Arthritis. That's okay, you got my red pen.
Just state your name and the city you live in, and I'll swear you in.
My name is Jerry Schoenhardt.
Okay, do you solemnly swear and/or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Go right ahead. Thank you.
Well, my main objective is, I guess I've lived here longer than a good share of the people that are here. I've lived in that house, I've had the house on the corner for over 60 years and have lived there. It's been pretty peaceful. I must admit, there's lots of traffic that is sort of objectionable, but I can't see that a gas station is going to do anything but make it a little bit worse. Plus all the things that go along with it, all the extra lights, all the extra everything that's going on there with the gas station. And we have one across the street. I realize that competition is good, but this is a pretty residential place, and I don't think we need two gas stations for that. And I'm pretty much against that. And like I say, I've been here for over 60 years, and I didn't even live in the city limits when I bought that house. Coeur d'Alene certainly has changed. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Doris Borg
Or
is opposed but did not wish to speak. Nope, okay. John West is opposed, did not wish to speak. James West, opposed. You want to come up? Okay.
James West, Coeur d'Alene.
Okay, thank you for that. Do you solemnly swear and/or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Go right ahead, James.
You know, I've got a lot of concerns, but most of my neighbors here have shared them. I echo those. I'd repeat them if I thought it was helpful. If we zoomed out on this, I think the council might also like to understand that everybody that's talked today only has one way in and out. I know we talk about an emergency, but I'm just talking about daily commutes. Everybody that comes in here, now we've got a drawing facing that's oriented north-south. So you can see Best Avenue going east and west across the subject property. Every house in that direction has to egress and ingress at that intersection. That would be a real impact. I also thought I heard some disingenuousness from the presentation here. We talked about no impact on traffic, and then we talked about that there was going to be a big plan to enhance 15th and add traffic lights. So which is it? Are we going to have more traffic and we need more traffic lights, or is this not going to affect traffic? I didn't feel like that was real sincere. So as a homeowner in that neighborhood with family there, and my folks live in there, all my friends and neighbors here have spoken, I think, eloquently about our concerns for the traffic, as well as the type of people that might come to this type of event. We have Nom Nom across the street. They sell food and sundry. The only items that were mentioned by the presenters here were, I think, milk and donuts. We've got that at Nom Nom for sure. There was no other exotic things. And then we got a bunch of equivocation about what would be in the annex building. It won't be Subway, but it might be something else. I don't think we have near enough certainty here to change existing zoning. And so I rise in opposition to this change. I also am concerned that I heard a council member mention that she has family who live across the street.
I'd point out that 300 feet from the perimeter of this property is probably just about 10 people, but you've got twice that in here in opposition who heard about it some other way. They certainly didn't reach out to the neighbors it would affect the most. That would be the people in Best Hill Meadows and down the street. So I think they've failed in their application just in that way, that they haven't communicated with the applicable, the people who would be affected the most, the community that lives back in that neighborhood.
I just
Thank
want
you.
to clarify one thing. I don't think any of the
No,
commissioners
my son
here-
lives across from the one on Celtice and Atlas. It
I'm
has
sorry?
nothing- My son lives across from the Celtice and Atlas.
Okay, and he enjoys
Has
that
nothing
one.
to do with this.
Okay, I heard differently.
Absolutely
problem.
nothing.
He likes it there. Thank
All
you.
right, thank
He
you.
likes it. It helps him. He can. get some food.
Joanne Gove is opposed, did not wish to speak? No? Okay. Carl Gove, opposed and does wish to speak? Okay,
Carl Gove, Coeur d'Alene.
thank you. Do you solemnly swear and/or affirm that testimony you're about to give is the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Go right ahead, thank you.
Yeah, my wife and I were not informed on this. Like John said, you didn't fire very far. That's one thing, but
Well, let me address that again, and I think Hillary or legal we did what code says. We send out notices within 300 feet of the property that is being addressed here
300
tonight.
feet.
So, I mean, as
It
far as.
barely gets to our
let me
subdivision,
finish.
but-
As far as, someone coming up and say, hey, I didn't know about this, or I didn't get a notice, the city did what legal. I'm glad everyone's here. I think this is great, but as far as the 300 feet, that's what we have to do. So I'm sorry, but
And
go right
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman, if I may, before he begins, so we also post the site
On the
and
site.
we publish in the newspaper.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it's posted.
And there's a sign, right,
It's
on the
posted
property?
Big yellow one,
Okay.
usually. It's yellow or orange.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, but go right ahead.
That sign's 2 by
Uh,
2 in the
well,
middle.
all right, I can't,
right.
gotcha.
so if you go up and down 15th, the east side of 15th, as far as I know, almost down to Celtice or Sherman, there's a taco stand at Sherman and a gas station. But as you go up on the east side of 15th, it's all residential, up through our area, all the way up to the middle school, at Dalton. So, I mean, it's completely residential, and you're going to change that now by putting this commercial site in there. I just don't think that's desirable. Keep it residential. I mean, you go on the west side of 15th, and you've got Nom Nom, and then as you go down Best, you begin to see commercial, and then you get to Apple Way, which is nothing but commercial. So, I mean, you got plenty of commercial. So when I moved here, from that place down south a few years back, I consider myself an Idahoan now. I've been here long enough. We had acreage, and I'm not getting any younger. My wife decided we should downsize, and we moved to Best Hill Meadows. It's wonderful to live in Best Hill Meadows. If you go, as you go east on Best, there's no outlet. So, I mean, there's a great advantage to having a house in there. But our only exit, like everybody says, is to go out to Best and 15th. And the convenience store could only add to the traffic. But one thing about when I moved, and I think everybody here will agree with me on this, people ask, well, what do you like about where you live now? And I tell them, I'm 5 minutes from everywhere. If I want to go downtown, I can go downtown. If I want to get on the freeway, I can get on the freeway. If I want to get on 95, quick to get to 95. If I want to go to the gym, it's quick to get to the gym. And especially if I want to go to Costco, I'm 3 minutes away. So, I mean, I'm 5 minutes from everywhere. And I don't need another convenience store. I never use Nom Nom to begin with, and I'm sure that most of these people here would hardly ever use that. It's not going to be an improvement for us. It's only going to take away from what we have now. I would hope that we would keep it residential, just like the rest of the east side of 15th. Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. Michael Monto did not indicate anything. Okay. Last person I have on the list is Timothy Ellis Soren, and is opposed and did not indicate whether you want to speak or not. Okay. Hold on. That's everyone that I have signed up. If someone's changed their mind and wants to speak, come on up. Come on up. Come. I think I know this lady.
My name is Carol DeWolf, and I live in Coeur d'Alene.
And do you solemnly swear and/or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And Carol, you did sign up. I saw your name.
I did
before.
sign up, but
Okay.
I said no, but now
Now, go
I'd like
ahead.
to just express my opinion. I live alone. I live in Best Hill Meadows. It's safe. I feel secure there. My neighbors are good to me. There is one way in and one way out, but I don't have riffraff coming around. And I'm just concerned about that for my own safety, that what is going to happen when these people open this, if you approve it, that we have this convenience store. I don't have any problem with Nom Nom, nothing happened, but if this is right on our corner of getting into our street, to get into our community. And so I'm just concerned for public safety, for us that live there, that the element that might come in. So that's all.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, if you want to speak. If you didn't sign up, just sign up afterwards, please. Name and city?
My name is Rob Knutson. I live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Okay, do you solemnly swear and/or affirm that testimony you're about to give is the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes,
Go right
I
ahead.
do. Well, I want to testify to two facts. I live in Indian Meadows, which is pretty close to the other gas station on Atlas and Celtice. And one of the facts is actually to the benefit of the proponent. When he says he will offer low prices, that's true. But it's related to the second fact, which is that the kind of traffic that came to that gas station after lowering the gas prices, great for customer service. People came from, I think, more than just the surrounding radius to fill up their tanks. But it's created quite a traffic issue at Celtice and Atlas with the traffic circle, especially around rush hour, beginning and end of the workday. So I'm going to stay kind of neutral on this, but I am sympathetic to the nearby residents and just would propose that you don't underestimate the amount of traffic that can be generated by a gas station. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Rex, Andy, you want to come up and address any of the issues? Okay, go right ahead.
So, I'm gonna speak to you guys, but I'm really speaking to everyone here. So looks-wise, just a few points. Looks-wise, somebody wanted, they don't want black, they don't want modern. We're thinking about doing something completely different. There's gonna be a market there no matter what. There was somebody that spoke, and but we're gonna make it, maybe brown tones. It's gonna fit into the community. There's gonna be a market there no matter what. The reason we want to do fuel, the money we make on it, it helps us pay our labor more. If all the employees that work at our Atlas and Celtice store, no one makes less than $18 an hour. We pay $18 to $22 an hour. So the extra income allows us to pay our employees better. We have better employees with that extra income. We don't have high turnover. Everyone that works at our Atlas and Celtice store has been there at least a year. So we want to run business the right way. I don't think anyone else is going to do a better job on this corner than us trying to satisfy the community's needs. I'm open to, if we have like a meeting at a hotel, little convention center, anybody that has any complaints,
Please address the commission.
sorry, okay. If anyone has complaints, we're willing to listen to everybody there. Traffic, we're not gonna do what we did at Atlas. We're not gonna, or I don't know if we should or we shouldn't, but if the community, if the people that care here don't want us to, then we won't. We're not gonna run low prices just to get a bunch of people there. We'll be fair and competitive, but we don't need to do anything extra. Maybe we can help out the people that come to the community meeting that wanna voice their concerns. We can all give them $100 gift cards. Maybe that money that we were gonna lower our prices, we can help people out. Our Atlas building is 8,500 square feet. That includes the top area. We're not gonna do a top or upstairs here, so it'll cut down the square footage. We wanna build something that's gonna fit in and be seamless. You know, it's not gonna stand out too much. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, I got a question for you real quick. You said there's gonna be a market there no matter what, given the fact that if it stays in neighborhood commercial and under that, and Hillary can tell me if I'm right or wrong, it is retail, and would retail be under the same,
Right,
same thing
correct.
as market?
The convenience sales fits under the
Okay,
retail.
so regardless, as you just, I just want to make clear I understood, there's going to be a market there, but it wouldn't have gas, perhaps.
It
And I'm
wouldn't
not
have-
saying that's what you're going to do, but I just want to make sure, is that what you said?
It's
Or-
either gonna be, I'll be honest,
Yes.
it's gonna be either a big market, it might even be bigger
Okay,
if we can't do gas pumps. Cause we
Okay.
gotta have extra income flowing in.
Okay,
But
I
if we have a
understand.
few gas pumps, that helps pay.
sure, I understand the
Yeah.
business philosophy. I just wanted to make sure I understood that correctly. That's the only question I had. Go ahead,
Mr.
Peter.
Chair, how we usually do these things, as these people are leaving, you give your testimony, then we close the testimony, and we have general discussion, and we come to some decision. On some occasions, and I don't know if this is one, but it may be, when the applicant has great plans, the residents don't understand those plans, that's where the conflict may come in. That may be where this is here. Maybe the residents don't fully understand what you're doing, and maybe the residents, you don't fully understand what the residents' concerns are. There may be a way where you meet with them
That's what I
and
want to
come
do.
to some
Yeah.
more acceptable conclusion, and then come, and it could be tonight, or it could be, I don't want to infer that you hold it over, but
It's-
there may be a way to do that, if you're interested in that, and if the
It's-
residents are
It's
interested
our
in that.
business. We're in, like, we want to sell frozen foods, frozen TV dinners. There's a lot of apartments, there's a lot of residential there. So we want to serve that community, you know? And like I said, I'm willing to, you know, we rent out something at the Best Western. Anybody that has complaints, we'll even go door to door and invite more people to come. Any complaints people have, we're going to listen to those.
Before this is approved or disapproved, or after?
Well, let me try to put clarity on that. We have in front of us, we either, it's approve this zone change or don't approve the zone change. And Hillary, let me know, I'm reading from what we have here. Postponing this, because as Peter is saying, the applicant has time to talk to the neighbors and whatever that outcome might be. How do we go about what we have in front of us tonight? Because all I see here is does or does not. So,
But we're only making a recommendation.
yeah, I just want some clarity on whoever does findings.
Correct. So the options before you are to, the recommend adoption, or for the city council to not adopt the zone change. You have the option to recommend conditions, and the commission always has the option, if you needed to table a hearing, you could, but you'd have to have, nobody could deliberate, there couldn't be any ex parte communication, so the community can't talk to the commission, vice versa. You can't talk to the applicant. You'd have to have a specific reason why you would table it. You would need more evidence or something like that.
All right, and that would be in whoever wants to make that type of motion
Correct.
tonight.
Can I
And
add some-
ideally, you would schedule when the hearing would reconvene, so.
Okay,
But again, you have to have good reason to table it.
but, okay, thank you.
Hillary, I have a question. He does show electric car charging. Does that fall under a retail facilitation or a specialty facility?
It's probably under essential service. It's kind of an unusual
It's in that-
category. We'd have to
well,
kind of look.
The millennials will want this.
Right.
Trust me.
Can I add
And he's a
something?
millennial.
Can I add something real quick?
But, yeah, go ahead.
So if we get this zone change today, before the city council meeting, I promise to hold like a town hall meeting and on design and stuff like that. We want to get the area's input.
Well, let me clarify, if we give you enough, say you want to have this meeting again with the neighbors or whatever, it won't go to city council, it'll come back to us, or how does that work,
Well,
Hillary?
My understanding of what he's saying is if you make your recommendation either way, he's offering to meet with the neighbors before the next hearing with the city council, because city council will have a public hearing for the final determination on the zone change.
I see, which is, okay.
Mr. Chair, I'll step out a little bit. I don't want to presuppose what the group wants to do, but I'm of the opinion that there's some advantage to postpone this or hold it over and have the applicant meet with the neighbors in some fashion, have general discussion, see if there's some mutual agreements that can be reached. I would suggest that only if the applicant is interested in doing that.
I don't want to postpone it. Like, I think we have we're doing everything according to the comprehensive plan. That's all we're going off of.
Well, I understand.
And then we will, after this, before the city council meeting, 100%, Best Western, any of these hotels will go book a conference center. I'll go door to door personally. And then people can come in, and then that makes our case stronger when we go to city council. Like, hey, we went door to door, and we did things the right way. We're not trying to build like a behemoth building here. It's gonna be what's based on what's right across the street. Ours is gonna be newer, better, just what the times call for now.
But what we do is we pass it one way or another.
Yeah.
And that goes like that to the council. There's not any contingency, there's not anything where, well, we recommend you do this, council, based on this person doing something after this meeting. That's not how it works.
Correct.
We make a motion, and that's what goes before the council. The council addresses that. You can come before the council, the citizens come before the council, the council can accept it.
So are we
reject it.
voting on today if it meets the comprehensive plan?
It's either NC or C-17. That's it.
No, but.
That's all we're voting on
Oh,
today.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know how we're gonna vote. You just hear the
All right, all right.
discussion.
Let's,
Yeah, that's all we're voting on
yeah,
today. It's either that.
let's try to get off that point.
I
Go
think, I
ahead.
think
I
the
know-
answer
yeah,
is
okay,
that the
hold on.
rezone won't occur until council acts.
I understand. I'm saying I wanna, we're here today because the comprehensive plan, there's a zoning right across the street in the same area. We're trying to get the same zoning as across the street. If that's approved, we wanna go the extra mile where no one else is willing to do this. We wanna meet with the community. We wanna hear, hey, I think we spoke about it. Instead of the dumpster area being somewhere near the houses, let's move it away so so people don't wake up. You know what I mean? We want to do the right things.
And everyone, and you certainly have more time to speak. I understand, as much as you say you want to have another meeting, because
do
of
that
what
regardless.
perhaps you heard tonight.
We're gonna
Our discussion, when it gets to the commission here to discuss this, we'll either say yes or no to the zone change. And whatever that might be, and if you say you're going to have meetings after we make our decision, that's kind of after the point, because then it goes to city council based on our recommendations.
Yeah.
And whatever that meeting is great that you have a meeting, but whether or not you bring something different at that point in time, it isn't what we're looking at right now and what we've heard. So I don't know if you understand the total process, but once we say yes or no to this, it goes to city council. And then however you want to present it at that time, and the neighbors might do the same thing they did today, then city council is going to make their decision. Now, if you have a meeting in between that, that's great. And tell the city council whatever the outcome of that meeting is, that's great. But the city's council is still going to make their decision based on what they hear at that point in time. So what we're talking about tonight is exactly what you've heard here tonight, and that's what we're going to discuss.
I
I'm sorry to
understand.
interrupt, but you have plenty, go ahead, continue.
Understand. I just want to do things the right way. We're not here to piss people off, you know? And if people have something to say, we're going to listen to them. If people don't want tall buildings, we're going to lower it, you know? If they don't want dumpsters near their houses, we're going to move that away. If they don't want a bunch of fuel pumps, we're not going to do that many. If they don't want lighting, we're going to turn it off at 11. I don't think anyone brings a stronger case than we do.
But we have to look at what C-17 allows to be done to what NC, the neighborhood commercial, allows to be done. So that's where we're doing. And Phil, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Phil, you need to.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something that, now this is the Planning and Zoning Commission. We look at planning, we look at zoning. We're not here to negotiate your site plan. Site plan may be nice, it may be great. That's not our job. And my position is we should go ahead, have our discussion, make a motion, and it goes forward, either approved or recommended for denial to the city commission, and this gentleman can meet with the homeowners in that time if he wants to or not. It's his choice to make.
Right, I got you. I understand. So continue if you have some
No,
some
that's
more
it.
items to address of what we heard.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Rex, you need to add anything?
All right. It was great to hear the passion that came through on the part of the neighborhood, and so especially the gentleman that hit me that about the sunsets and being there for 35 years, and so I did want to reiterate what Andy's saying is this isn't like a what would you say, quid pro quo or something like that, where he's trying to. This would be something where, as a way of trying to mitigate the feedback that came through at City Council, I can assure you that Andy is someone who does want to do it the right way, would want to, kind of avoid this, should that next round occur. And that can be something that we take up, but that's one way of trying to increase the neighborhood response and create something that people can feel heard. And I think that's the important part that we learned here tonight. But I think as it relates to the comprehensive plan, that was another element where Andy did try to take a proactive approach of trying to align with a document that was produced by the city where we are trying to convert to something that is in alignment with the future use. And I think that there's a bit of a misconception, and I think that the commission has hit on it, is that Andy wants to do something that is single story building, should something that was allowed in the NC, and I think Commissioner Fleming, I think you alluded to it, is we could see a building that's 32 feet tall. Retail on the ground floor, that could be a steady stream of traffic, and then residents and parking would also create a traffic situation. I did also want to address a misconception, for the audience here with the unlimited height. As an architect, we hear the unlimited height that's talked about, but a lot of times that is limited by fire restriction. And so what you have with regard to fire flow and construction type, and so it isn't a total blank check. As someone that has tried to push that boundary a couple times, and so Andy is trying to come in and do something that is single story. Are there any other questions that I could address at this time? Otherwise, I think we're good.
Rex, I've got one for you. Was there any consideration into, just because of the broad nature of a C-17 and all the things that could fall into that, was there any consideration on your part of asking instead for an exception to the neighborhood commercial zone to allow for gas station and food?
Yes, it was, and that's a great question. We did consider another zone, but that would have required a special use, which would have been 2 approvals. And so it would have been something we would have had to jump through that hoop twice. Our goal really was to align with that comprehensive plan document, and something that was intentional as a way of trying to fit along the lines of what the city's vision for that lot was.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. No other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to close public testimony on this and bring it to further discussion with the commissioners. We
Okay.
have some discussion. Yeah, Phil, I know you have to go.
I'll
don't you?
make a
Okay.
couple of comments if I could.
Sure.
It's always important that we listen to the homeowners, and hopefully they understand our concerns and we understand theirs. Planning Commission is here. Planning and zoning is to look at, first of all, the zoning. When you look at this property, 15th Street does not have any commercial zoning other than NC on the east side. It's very important, too, that Best terminates going east. So if there could be some traffic problems there. All that aside, traffic is an issue for anything, but it's not always the number of cars. It's the traffic movements, the time of day that they're out there blocking the street or causing delays to people. Gas station is a particularly all-day type of event and can cause traffic confusion to people, maybe people like just me that are older. It was really interesting to me that the first person to speak here today was a gentleman I don't know, had nothing to do with this application. He was concerned about bikes and walkability. And if you read the comprehensive plan on this property, it talks about mixed use, low places, which goes on to say should be highly walkable. Putting a gas station at this corner, I think, deters from that highly walkable situation. It's also interesting, the NC district, I mean, it's a commercial mixed-use type of district. But in there, it doesn't just not allow gas stations, it specifically prohibits them. Now, I don't know why that was done that way at this location, but just in looking at what is developed there, the zoning that's in place, and the uses that are in place, I just feel that commercial zoning on this side of a C-17 type commercial zoning is inappropriate to cross 15th Street. Every application we've had along 15th Street in the past year and a half has been single-family plan unit development type of development, from 90 coming all the way up towards Best. My feeling is at this point, we should not be breaking that pattern to allow for, at least not to allow for gas station.
Thank you, Phil. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm sorry, applauding is great, but if we can hold that back a little bit. And sorry, Andy, I closed public testimony at this, and I'm sorry, but we're up here to talk about this application amongst ourselves right now, but that's just the rules that we have to follow. Well said, Phil. I agree with what Phil just said. To summarize what you said, you couldn't have said it any better in my words. So any other comments on that?
I would,
Go ahead, Sarah.
I would agree with maybe not the entire length of 15th, but for that big chunk of 15th, there isn't any C-17 on that side. It's mostly residential. I feel like within the NC zoning, there's plenty of business opportunity, and I appreciate your passion for trying to fit with the neighborhood, Andy. And I think the gas is the tipping point. I think those overhead lights and the canopy, even though you'd be closed, is just, I do think about that, having that in the back of your yard, looking, at that particular business instead of just a one-story. When you look at the NC zoning, the one-story kind of residential scale seems like it would be a good fit. But I would maybe, and I understand, and so I appreciate the passion.
Andy, I'm sorry, it's not a conversation back and forth. This is a statement that should be just amongst. First of all, we can't hear you, and it's not on the record because you're not by the mic. And I understand your passion for this. I truly do. But at this point, we're just discussing this amongst ourselves. But go right ahead.
Oh, so anyways, I know that the product you've done on Saltese and Atlas is it's well done, and I think you have great employees, and I think it's a good fit for that particular neighborhood. I think for this one, the gas is kind of that tipping point. I think, a nice market, you will still have a good business opportunity there, but it'll fit better with the neighborhood as it's currently zoned, with those restrictions. And I feel like it doesn't open the door to, if later down the road it becomes all the other type of C-17 uses. So I kind of think keeping with the current zoning fits better with the neighborhood character of what's surrounding it. But I do, encourage that if you do that, to still connect with the community that surrounds you and get some feedback. And I think you will be very successful by doing that. So that would be what I would say. So.
Thank you, Sarah. Go ahead, John.
Just some thoughts. This reminds me of, we had a hearing on a PUD kind of over in the Gilbert area, and the lady told us how great it was to look out over the pasture and eat her cornflakes in the morning, and how awful it is that it's going to develop. And I the gentleman that lives in the houses in the county to the east, and I feel your pain. That said, I don't think it's realistic that you're going to look into the pasture and see the deer or whatever forever. Thinking it's going to be a vacant lot forever isn't realistic, and as Commissioner McCracken said, there's any number of other retail, and it could be an urgent care facility, it could be a doctor's office, it could be all kinds of different things, and it's going to develop someday. It's not going to be vacant forever. So, your world is going to change, and the sunset may go away. That said, I tend to agree with the others that have spoken. I also underlined in my packet the same sort of words that Commissioner Ward discussed out of the comp plan that describe a walking, mixed-use buildings with, on the corners with some ground floor frontage, blah, 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 and it paints a softer picture. The other thing that concerns me here is a fact. We have a worksheet. In fact, Fact A13 states that the remaining properties to the north, east, and west are residential in nature. And the lady that has lived in her house for 60 years on the corner of 15th and Best, your neighborhood's changed, but, it's still residential. And I think we have a duty, even to the people in the county, you're our neighbors, to at least kind of hold the line. We can't stop some development, but maybe something a little different than what's proposed would be a little less objectionable in this case. So I struggle with this.
Thank you, John. Okay, Lynn? Peter, go ahead.
Well, I just
go
agree with Mr. Ward that the properties all around are not C-17, they're residential. But reading some of the community identity here, if I may, the citizens are to be well-informed, responsive, and involved in community decisions. Something came up tonight about not notifying people over 300 feet. Well, whatever it is, the city follows what other state statutes are. Just encourage you when you're walking, you posted too, you look at it and see what it's about. Because we have the same concern that you have, is making sure people understand what's going on, so you can come down here and talk. Another thing, Coeur d'Alene will strive to be livable for medium and below-income levels, including young families, working class, so forth. That's one of our comprehensive plan issues. We also are to recognize neighborhoods and district identities. And I think that from what I heard here, I'm not in favor of this rezone, for those reasons.
I have a lot to add. Mr. Singh does do a great job. He's trying his hardest to push a fat foot into a small shoe. So I think that this is not the right thing in the right place. I think the neighborhood community, this is a neighborhood, so NC fits. I also do worry they've got a hillside of lumber up there that's a burn pile that could happen, a fire could happen, and they got to get out of that street and that road. So I worry about the community and its livability when we start to put in tanker trucks and loading trucks and market share. And so I do think the impact is too high on what is predominantly a residential neighborhood. You know, I respect Mr. Singh for trying to do as much as he can to make this fit, but I don't think this is the spot for what he's proposing. So, again, I would say no to this.
Okay. Thanks, Lynn, appreciate it. Okay, with that all being said, anyone want to make a motion?
Oh, John, please do it.
No, John? Anyone?
John's good at this.
Go right ahead. Yes.
Oh. Yeah, we got new procedures. Yeah, I think I need some help on this. It's not quite
Okay, the
right.
matter coming before the Planning and Zoning Commission on January the 9th to consider ZZ-124, -24, request to zone change from NC Neighborhood Commercial to C17 zoning district. The applicant, GS4 Property LLC, and the parcel legally described as a parcel of land in the northwest quarter of Section 7, Township 50, North, Range 3 West, Boise Meridian, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, also described as the intersection of 15th Street and Best Avenue. The Planning Commission finds, with regard to facts A, 1 through 23. Randy, I don't think you have to do the first 8 or 9 of those, is that correct? That's a given?
Yeah, you can say A1 through 9 are adopted.
You adopt those?
As
Yeah,
a
these
whole.
are just the fact that notices were sent, the date things were done, the date of the hearing, and so on. And the property is within the city of Coeur d'Alene, the existing zonings and neighborhood commercial NC, and the comprehensive plan future lap designation is mixed use, low place type. Breaks it down into an A10 and an A11. A11 specifically saying no mixed-use low places for highly walkable areas, typically up to 4 stories. It does go beyond that, and to me, this part, the request is inconsistent with that. The other comprehensive plan goals are applicable. A12, the community identity, the citizens been informed, they have been. Coeur d'Alene does strive to a livable community. On growth, develop a mix of land uses through the city. That is the intent of what the plan tries to achieve, and to ensure proper high-quality infrastructure to accommodate community needs and future growth. Most of that can be accommodated on this property consistent with such things as utilities that are available irrespective of the use. Let me go on to my... Okay, the A13, the neighborhood is a mix of commercial and residential uses. A gas station, Mini Mart, is located at the northwest corner of 15th and Best. To the south is all multifamilies, duplex housing units. The remaining properties to the north, east, and west are residential in nature. There would be frontage improvements for sidewalks, stormwater, et cetera, as required for any development. There is adequate capacity for public water and for any particular use that's allowed at this time. The nearest public sanitary sewer is on 15th Street to the west, but it can be extended to serve this property. And the fire department review the plan in detail if when and if it is submitted for building permit. Likewise, the police department does not have any concern at this time with the proposed zone change. The site is generally flat geographically and is the natural state with grass and trees located on it. The proposed zone change would not adversely affect the surrounding area with traffic. That is item number 20, and that is incorrect. It would affect the traffic, both the type of vehicle, the frequency of trips, and the access in and out of the site. 15th Street is a major collector that experiences up to 1,000 trips a day. The Metropolitan Planning Organization indicates the potential maximum of 1,200 trips. This proposed use, if approved, would not exceed that, we don't believe, but regardless, it would change the frequency, which is inconsistent with the overall intent of a walkable community. Both the NC and C17 zoning districts do have design guidelines and parking requirements. The applicant's narrative and testimony states that it will be have low profile signs, no LED speaker boards. All of that is true, but the main issue is the zoning appropriate? And in this case, I believe the zoning is incompatible with the existing zoning and uses, other than on the northeast corner of Best. Everything north and south of the subject property into the west, south of Best, is in a residential use. Therefore, the proposal is not in conformance in the concept plan goals, objectives, and policy. Public facilities and utilities are available to adequately serve the use, but they are there for any use, not just this one. Physical characteristics of the site do make it potentially suitable for the request as far as having the proper size to accommodate the uses being requested, but the proposal would adversely affect the surrounding neighborhood with traffic, neighborhood character, and the existing land uses. The Planning Commission, pursuant to the foregoing findings of fact and conclusions of law, has determined that the existing zone change does not comply with the required evaluation criteria and recommends that the City Council not adopt the C-17 zoning.
Thank you, Phil. Appreciate that. Also, any other discussion on the matter before I ask for a second? And I just want to add, I agree totally what Commissioner Ward said, and then my decision was based on all the public testimony I heard tonight as well on this matter, not just getting a package, and not that we didn't hear what the applicant said, but as a commissioner, we have to be somewhat aware of how certain items affect neighborhoods, and this is the one that would affect the neighborhood the most. Any other discussion?
Do you need a second?
I need a second.
I would be pleased to second it.
Okay, I have first by Commissioner Ward, second by Luther. Could we have roll call, please?
Fleming,
Yes.
Ingalls,
Yes.
Lutrip,
Yes?
Coppice,
Yes.
McCracken,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Messina.
Yes. Okay. The item does not pass. What's the right of appeal on this? If the applicant wants to appeal to City Council or not?
No, it would go on to City Council. So there is, we need to change our zoning code, actually. So Randy and I looked at our code, says that if a zone change is recommended denial by the Planning Commission, it would stop and not go on to City Council. But the state statutes call for it to continue on, so it will go on to City Council, likely the second meeting in February.
Okay.
Or the first one in March.
Okay, thank you.
So if it's appealed, it goes to council, is it?
No.
No,
we're not
it'll
going to
automatically go
council.
Oh, in
on
no-
with
in
your
no fashion.
recommendation.
No.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
They will hear it.
They will hear it with your
They will either
recommendation.
determine whether we're correct or whether they want to continue
Correct.
with Mr.
Council will
Singh.
make the final determination on it.
What I'd like to suggest is,
Two
there's a lot of
shots.
people here. Is there a reason for them to look at the council agenda to see this on the council agenda at some future time in case they want to come and listen?
Yes, and we will send out the notices to the 300 feet. We'll post the site and publish in the paper again for that hearing with
So if
City
you're
Council.
interested in that, check with Hillary or something, so how you get notified, or what you look at the city agenda, whatnot, so that you don't have to see something posted on the property, because there won't be.
Okay.
It does, yes. Yep, you're welcome. It will, yes. There'll be a second hearing.
Okay, at this time, we're going to, the public hearing for that item is voted on and closed. We're going to take a short recess, and we've got to,
Do we close this?
you want to take a recess for?
No,
We'll formally
close this.
recess it. You
Yeah,
don't
we're
adjourn.
gonna
We'll
close
formally
this.
recess it.
We're
But
closing
you-
the
yeah,
public
close this.
testimony
Yep.
on item ZC 1-4.
Did your action, so you're good on that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
So
we're
just,
closing
we
that.
need a
We're gonna go
recess
into
and we'll come
recess.
So it's just
reconvene.
a recess to the
We'll go right
workshop.
into the workshop.
Yeah, yeah.
Chop, chop. Oh, I'm sorry for Mr. Singh. He
I
does a
heard the
nice
workshop
deal,
in
but-
there, and for some reason I was thinking it was done.
Well, it's-
I'm ready.